The debate is heating up. The decibel of noise is increasing. L&T chairman has said that working hours should be as much as 90 hours in a week, and also before that you must have heard Narayan Murthy saying that the working hours should be 70 hours. Right now the social media is divided, the people's opinion is divided, people are on both the sides. Certain people, big barons like Anand Mahindra and Mr. Adani, they have said that one need not to work for these many hours. Quality should be preferred over quantity. So I am Rahul, I welcome you all. Today we'll be debating on this topic, what should be the optimum working hours. But before I begin, I want you all to just comment me and tell me what work means for you. For example, for many people, it could be a medium of escape. Like people working for longer duration, they are escaping from certain reality. That could be the stress they are having, that could be the responsibilities they are running away. And for people who give certain statements like work for 90 hours, work for 120 hours, work for 70 hours, it could be that for them, work is passion. They're very passionate about their work. And you all must have come across this thing that work is worship. For certain people, it could be that work is their worship, work is everything for them. So dear friends, work has different meaning for different individuals. I would just like to know what works mean for you. What is the definition of work for you? Is it just a livelihood, a source of earning livelihood, running your day-to-day life, or is it something more than that? Anyway, coming back to the debate, L&T chairman after Narayan Murthy has said work for 90 hours. On that, there was certain sarcastic comment by Mr. Adani that your wife will run away if you are going to spend this much of time in her office. Then Mr. Goenka has also said that there should be a balance between work life and professional life. Starting the debate, all those people who are arguing that why there should be longer duration, let us try to understand the perspective. The perspective could be when somebody is working for longer duration, it increases their productivity. It's a simple mathematics. Someone working for 2 hours in a day will finish a task of 10 hours in 5 days. On the other hand, if somebody stretches for 10 hours in a day, he'll be able to finish that task in a single day. The next argument is economic advantage. So obviously when somebody is stretching and working, he's doing work of 2-3 people, which is economically advantageous to the organization, to the company, or for the person for whom he is working. The other thing is career advancement. Career advancement in what sense? Generally, it has been found those people who go the extra mile, those people who put the extra effort, they are given preference in promotions, in roles and responsibilities. So all the CEOs or high working professionals, CXO position that you might have seen in life, once upon a time, chances are very high that once upon a time they would have been workaholics. The next is these short-term sacrifices, that is, instead of Saturday, Sunday, going for partying, going for extracurricular activities, when you're putting it into work, it is going to give you long-term benefits. How? You're going to have advantage over your rival. You're going to have a personal growth for your own self. Now the next thing and the most important, as discussed before, all those people who like to work, they are driven by passion. The passion of building something. What in today's days is known as hustle culture. What in today's days is known as the entrepreneurship spirit. That you are driven by passion to build something, to create something, to leave a legacy. However, there are arguments against this also. And what are those arguments? The foremost and what the common sense would say, that people who work for longer duration, their physical activity is reduced to a very great extent. This leads to health issues like high BP, sugar problem, joint pains, and many other things. So the very first thing which is associated for longer duration, which is very much obvious, is the health risk. And this is proven also that people working for longer duration, they do not pay that much of attention on their health, on their grooming, on their physiological and psychological psych, which affects them. Now, the next thing is decreased productivity. What it means that longer duration, as we discussed earlier, need not necessarily lead to increase in productivity. Why? Because as an individual, as a mortal humans, we all have limited energy capacity within us for a single day. So what happens as the day stretches, your energy level goes down. So it could be that you might be sitting in front of your computer system for 10 hours, 12 hours, 15 hours, but you might not be that much productive. And also one thing that has been seen, that due to this race of who is stretching for how much of time, people have started doing what is known in today's date in technical jargon as face time. That is, you open your laptop system, you sit in front of it and do nothing. You come to the office on time, 9 a.m. and you leave by 9 p.m. Meanwhile, doing nothing. So this is also issue which has come up because it has become a rat race. There is peer pressure. If somebody is spending more time in the office, someone else sits just for the sake of sitting. Now, the next thing is economic inefficiency, which is a byproduct of this culture where people, due to peer pressure, due to group think effect, they all start spending time in the office rather than increasing the productivity, increasing the value. They are just sitting idle, which affects the economic efficiency. The next thing is, let us be very honest, that let us assume that there are certain people who are putting their extra efforts, who are putting their extra energy into getting things done. But what happens is that this kind of unprecedented energy cannot be put in each and every day of work. It could be that there could be short sprints where you're putting extra energy, where you're going beyond the mile, but this cannot be done on a regular basis. Why so? Just as a normal student, I assume you all would be students who are watching these videos. So what happens if you study for extra hours on one day? Let us say you study for 12 hours, 15 hours, 18 hours in single day. Next days, your whole timetable is affected. Likewise, anyone who is stretching beyond the limit, his next day or let's say coming days are going to be affected. So this is something that cannot be carried out in regularly. Now the next thing is, in the name of hustle culture, in the name of building something, in the name of this race that we are passionate, there could be exploitation of working professionals. What this means that in the name of hustle culture, you are getting people to work for longer duration, but you're not paying them as much they deserve. You're not giving them in return the social security that they deserve. And second thing is, this thing has got no measure. So ultimately it could be leading to exploitation along with inequality rising up, because there will remain no better judgment system, no better reward system for, given that everybody is stretching beyond the extra mile. So dear friends, we need to now analyze that, is it a divide between the Gen Z, Gen Alpha, what we call today's younger generation, versus the old honchos, old barons who have built something great for the nation? Is it a cultural conflict where two generations are not able to come to terms with each other? Or is it really an important subject that we must be discussing? So the thing is that the newer generation, the younger generation, they believe more in freedom, flexibility of work. On the other hand, people like Mr. Narayan Murthy, with due respect to them, they have certain other ideals about working. Or going a line beyond this, there are also young entrepreneurs who subscribe to this line that in order to build something, you have to put in extra effort. So where this debate is leading to, and we as an individual, we as a working professional, I think like there is a need to take a balanced perspective into account. And what that balanced perspective could be, it could be that you keep flexible hours. For example, you are running a critical project, you increase the working hours of people, but on next day give them flexibility to come office late, or take what is known as complementary ops. For example, somebody working on Saturday and Sunday, you give them off on Monday, Tuesday, as and when it is duly possible. Now, the next thing is that these working extra hours, as told, it should not be a regular phenomena. It should not become a norm. This should be taken as an exception. Something critical has come up. There could be short sprints where the whole team, where an individual puts in extra efforts and get the things done. And lastly, it's very logical that do not count the number of increased working duration, rather count the output. It could be that what for the same output one person is taking 10 hours, 12 hours, the same output could be given by a different individual in 1 or 2 hours only. So these things also be taken into consideration. And lastly, apart from this, some extra points, additional points which I would like to add, that working is very much culture dependent. You need to take the cultural sensitivities of that region, of that place into account. For example, it is said that Japanese and the Koreans, they have this very high standards of working. They can put a greater amount of working hours in their day-to-day life. But when it comes to India, a nation of festival, a nation of so much of diversity, along with economic and socio disparity, the cultural context must be taken into account. People have diverse social responsibilities, family responsibilities in India, so everybody should not be seen from the same lens. So here the context and the culture becomes very important. Now the next thing is that on which I want to talk is the context. For example, you want longer duration of working, you want people to work for longer duration. That must have a viable context. If you're building something, if that's a startup, that's a new company, that's a new project, it's understandable. But if it is something that is happening on day-to-day basis, then there is a problem with your process, there is a problem with the way you are functioning. You need to correct that, because this is something unsustainable that cannot go for on and on. And the next thing, and more importantly, that we need to take into consideration, that this thing is highly industry dependent. For example, somebody having the ease of having air conditioned room, of having a better ergonomic seats and settings, he can definitely put in more number of hours. But what for the person who is working in a strenuous job, who has to stand, who has to deliver, you cannot expect a normal human to stand for more than 12-15 hours. That would be completely inhuman. So the nature of job that one person is doing, what are the stress parameters, how much amount of physical vigor it is requiring, how much amount of mental vigilance it is requiring, all these things must be taken into account. Somebody who is just making decisions, it could be that decisions can be made 24/7. You can get an idea at 3 a.m. in the morning and you're okay, I'm working from 24/7. But what about the person who has to execute in the ground? You cannot expect him to be available 24/7. So somebody who is making decision making, who is part of decision making, he could be active for 12 hours, 18 hours. But when it comes to people who are executing it, you cannot expect them to be there 24/7, because the challenges are different. So dear friends, this was my perspective on this issue. I just hope you would have got a better understanding of the subject, and I expect you all to comment me what are your thoughts and opinion. I'll see you again with some more better topic, interesting topic. We will discuss and debate on it together. Till then, take good care of yourself. This was Rahul signing off. Thank you very much.